Hello and marhaban. Thank you for joining us today for the Ax-2 crew Return to Earth press conference. I'm Bettina Nklan. I'm here at Axiom Space headquarters in Houston, Texas, and I'm very excited to be with the Ax-2 crew. With me is private astronauts Peggy Whitson and John Shoffner, and Saudi national astronauts with the Saudi Space Commission, Alqarni and Rayyanah Barnawi, representing the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The Ax-2 crew splashed down off the coast of Florida on Tuesday, May 30th at 11:04 p.m., completing Axiom Space's second all-private mission to the International Space Station. And with that, opened a new era of access to low Earth orbit to more people, organizations, institutions, and countries all around the world. The 10-day space mission made history on many fronts. Ax-2 was the first commercial mission with both private and government-sponsored astronauts. It also included our very own Peggy Whitson as the first female commander of a private space mission. Peggy, also known as America's most experienced astronaut, expanded her record for the most cumulative time in space by an American and by a woman. She now clocks in at an impressive 675 days spent in space. John Shoffner became the first person from the state of Alaska to fly to space, and Alqarni and Rayyanah Barnawi became the first astronauts from the country of Saudi Arabia to visit the International Space Station, and they're the first members of the Saudi National Astronaut Program. Barnawi is also the first woman to go from Saudi Arabia to go to space, and the first Arab woman to orbit the Earth. During this time on the orbiting laboratory, the Ax-2 astronauts successfully executed lots of incredible things, including 20 different STEM and outreach engagements, many more media events, and over 26 different research projects. The SpaceX Dragon spacecraft carrying the Ax-2 crew returned to Earth with over 300 pounds of cargo and critical data that will impact understanding of human physiology on and off the planet. Overall, the last several months, the teams at Axiom Space, NASA, and SpaceX have worked with the crew to make this mission a reality. We're overjoyed to have them accomplish so much during the mission, and we're really excited to talk to them and hear about their experiences today. Welcome home, Axiom Mission 2. In a moment, I'm going to turn it over to our commander, Peggy Whitson, for some opening remarks. Followed by her words, we're going to open it up to questions from the media. If you'd like to ask a question, please submit your questions to the moderator using the chat function, the Q&A. We are asking everyone to please submit their name, affiliation, and who they would like the question to be answered by. Several questions have been submitted before via email and through social media, so we'll get through those as well. With that, towards the end, we're going to have something special for everyone, some highlights of the mission that you won't want to miss. But now let's get to what everyone really wants to hear from our commander, Peggy Whitson, and the crew of Ax-2. Peggy?
Well, I'm really happy to be here with the crew. My pilot, John Shoffner, MS-1, Alqarni, and MS-2, Rayyanah Barnawi. It was such a fun time. Can you believe we landed less than 48 hours ago?
Wow, that's incredible.
It's still striking to me to think about it, but everything was just so fast, such a fast-paced mission. But at numerous points during the mission, I asked you guys kind of, what was your favorite part of this or that? And I wanted to have you share some of those stories. And after we landed, we were waiting in the rocking capsule. It was very calm seas, thankfully, for my stomach. I was grateful for that. But I was asking these guys, what was your favorite part? Ali, let's start with you. What was your favorite part of the re-entry?
Well, I would like to start by saying it was a wonderful trip with all of you guys. That meant a lot for me, and I learned a lot from you guys, and you are like my family here. So it's very hard to pick one favorite part of the mission because the whole thing is amazing. But what I was really eager for is just to feel the launch itself, how dynamic it is, and how aggressive or soft it's going to be like. And I was surprised after the main booster separated.
Yes.
The rocket adjusted its pitch and start accelerating, and all the G forces pushing us against the seat. It was so amazing to feel that, and I was like, whoa, the acceleration is big, it is humongous, and I loved it. I loved every part of it, and I'm really looking to do it again. in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's way different than the sim, huh?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
we got trained in one thing, but the feeling, the actual feeling of it, it's totally different.
Yeah, it didn't, I mean, it was a while back since we had the centrifuge chaining where we went through those profiles.
Yeah.
But it just seemed different to me, and the feeling those forces was, I think, impressive. It was about, I think, 4.5 Gs on our during the second stage as we were accelerating. It's interesting. I always thought it was interesting. We get up to 200 kilometers, and then you just start, you change your attitude and just increase the speed, getting up there really fast. I mean, 6,000 meters per second, which just is amazing, to go from 0 to 6,000 meters per second in under 9 minutes. Just phenomenal feeling.
It is.
Yeah. And I guess the way you were just calling every time we speed up or we go to an upper or higher G, I don't know, it felt like the anticipation and we were just super excited for it.
Yeah, they were. They were obviously excited during the launch. John, what was your favorite part of the launch phase?
The launch phase, I kind of agree with Ollie. When it pitched over, when we had separated at main engine cutoff, when it pitched, you could feel a rocket actually adjust its pitch, and of course that's where rockets work best. With less atmosphere to hold them back, and the MVAC engine doing its awesome job, and it just took off.
Yeah.
But there was one moment which surprised me, and it's at the moment of T0, the ignition. You felt the rumble. Then I just felt it's like the entire room just went.
Yep.
Yeah.
It just the lift.
Yeah.
It just like it just I wasn't expecting that. It was expect a little slower and then a propulsion, but the whole liftoff phase was really awesome.
Yeah, I kind of agree with John because like in the simulations we don't really get to that stage, like it's over and that's it.
Yeah.
But then when you feel like, oh, we're actually going to
You're
space.
going, you're going.
Yeah.
Oh, these guys, at 25 seconds when we knew we were going, they were all, we're going!
Yeah, we're hyped up.
We get best.
Yeah, I think that was very clear. They saw it in the video. Like, we were excited.
Thank you, Gerst, we're going.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah.
And how about the re-entry? What was your favorite part on re-entry?
Well, for me, it would be definitely the plasma, I would say, flames that reflected on the side windows, and it just lightened up the whole Dragon capsule from the inside in orange, yellowish color, which was amazing to feel. And we were almost freezing inside. It was super cold, and the outside is like so many 100 degrees. Yeah.
3,000.
Exactly. Yeah, and when I saw the plasma trail video post landing, it was amazing.
Yeah,
it's
it's
like a shooting star or asteroid or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really impressive. What was your favorite part of landing, Ray?
I'd say the shoots, like
The
the drogues and the mains.
Yeah.
You don't really feel that in the simulator as well.
Yeah, right.
And it felt like we were in a roller coaster, or like, I don't know. We kept rotating and rotating. And
Yeah.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
John, what was your favorite part of that re-entry?
I liked it when the mains fired. I had forgotten about line stretch. You had to get full line extension, and we'd been through the rocky drogue drag portion, and the capsules, of course, oscillating. And then we're watching, the altimeter for main cut, and then it fired, and we went back into free fall.
Yeah.
Whoop! Here we go. Yeah. Okay. We got parachutes.
Yeah. And of course, as a parachutist, you know a lot about free fall.
Yeah. But it caught me off guard nonetheless.
The parachutes are not going to work. Hopefully.
No, that was a lot of fun. How about during the mission, we did a lot of different investigations, 20 different investigations or more, and, each of us worked on a lot of different things. What was your favorite one, John? What did you enjoy working on the most?
Well, there's science and STEM. I was involved really heavily in STEAM projects, reaching out to classrooms, and I so much enjoyed that.
Yeah, you seemed like you had a lot of fun.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
I really did. And I enjoyed it more and more as it went along. We had some great classroom interactions.
Fantastic.
And in one particular occasion, the controller of the ice cubes system
that provided the comm.
Also on the other end. He came back on and said, wow, that was a really fun event.
They enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, they
Nice.
enjoyed it. So, the interaction with the classrooms was really surprisingly awesome, and we're still getting flooded with emails and comments of
Good.
how much they enjoyed that.
Good, that's great.
Yeah.
How about you, Ollie? Which was your favorite?
Well, I would definitely agree with John, interacting with the student kids, and it was amazing, and to feel their excitement and their words and how excited they are and proud of us and how they are really looking for this moment and doing the experiments. We had like education and science experiment with the kids as well, and having them asking these questions like, why does it look different in space, and how do you sleep, and it was so simple, but it was amazing. And from the scientific part, it was very important for me that we did the cloud seeding experiment, which hopefully we are bringing back a lot of benefits from it, and hopefully we could develop new technologies in Earth, because it means a lot for us, especially in Saudi, to fight desertification and to pursue the Vision 2030 that our Crown Prince has started almost 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So we need to open up an umbrella store if you're a success.
You'd be the first one on the block.
It's gonna be grown business. Yeah.
How about you, Ray? What was your favorite experiment?
Well, I'd say fighting with you over LSD.
Well, you won most of the time.
Yeah, she won the belt. Yeah. Glove boxing.
So, did you enjoy any of them in particular, or you just loved any of them in the glove box?
Well, in the glove box, I loved starting with the DNA nanoparticles. It was very fascinating for me just to see the particles form in front of my eyes, just to see how the substances change in formation and how the bubbles and the zero gravity helps with that. It was fascinating for me to even see like the media and how it behaves in the RNA response experiment.
Yeah.
Like I saw all the vials very full, and I was like, we're only gonna get like 14 microliters out of that, and it just hit me that because like the viscosity and how the surface tension works, it is really hard sometimes to get that little amount and put it in onto the cells. I don't know, to me, it was a mind-blowing experience, just being in the LSG.
What was funniest to me was when she was in the LSG, and she had a plate, and it's open on the top, and she's carefully put media in on top of these cells and different substances. And she's trying to slide it into the bag. And I'm like, you can turn it over. And she's like, no, it's got a hole. It's giving me a heart attack.
I worked in it for an hour. Yeah, I don't want to screw it up.
So they handed it out to me, and I held it up for her. She's like, oh,
And I'm already working sideways, but like my brain does not like comprehend how that works.
I mean, to be honest, I was super excited to see Ray working in the glove box. She had a militant discipline in there.
Yes.
Like I've come by offering her drinks or food, and she's not giving me anything. She was focused.
Gotta finish this first.
You're in your element.
yes, it was very much so.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like the ham radio too. Like me, I've never used a radio before, and we just got our licenses. So being able to talk to the kids back home and just hear their reactions. Maybe with the other activities, we weren't able to hear their responses. But with this one, we were super excited just to answer the questions and to hear them speaking over.
I remember during the training, she was super excited to learn the alphabet phonemic, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie. Yeah, it's like a new language for her.
Yeah, I have to tell you a story because I was on a ham contact, and I just finished coming off of Europe somewhere, and I stayed on. And another language came on, which was not immediately familiar to me. And Ray floated by and said, "Oh, is that's Arabic?" And I said, "Well,
Arabic,
okay,
yes.
maybe it is, okay, and maybe you can figure it's yours." So, and she said, like, answered it in 2 words, and then the guy came back and said, "Ray, is that Ray?"
That's so cool.
Yeah, he was waiting for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And the next day, I came across at the same time because that's how orbiting works. And the same guy was there waiting for you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
that was
that
awesome.
really is
Yeah.
good. Do you guys John and Ollie, you have a lot of experience as pilots. Do you think that prepared you or helped you in any way? And what parts maybe did and did not help you adapt to being in space?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, mainly in the Dragon systems, because piloting is about systems and systems architecture, and having that familiarity with that, and having patience and understanding it, prepared me for operations in the Dragon. And then, of course, in the ISS, it's full of systems, so systems knowledge and how things work was important for the whole mission.
I mean, yeah, of course, because in flying you learn about every aircraft you fly in, and you have to know everything about it, from nominal to off nominals, and you have to know the emergency, that what could happen and what could go wrong, and how you could mitigate it as well. And that helped me during the training, I think, because I have the background, I have the mindset of it, and learn it, and I have the perspective as well of it. But the flying did not help me. Floating.
Let's talk floating.
Floating. It is
Oh my God.
a lot different thing. We were like monkeys up there.
It was for me. It was a nearly impossible task. I said, "Oh, this is no problem. We'll just go float around." But it takes like just that
Exactly.
to begin to move.
You start to learn about physics, huh?
You start learning about physics, and if you're in a hurry, you can't help but do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, nothing gonna stop you.
End of the world. So it was a challenge. But
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember one event when we were live on TV, and Ray all of a sudden she started floating up, and,
It was like,
and she was talking, and she's outside of the frame, and what I'm gonna do? Like, I helped her. The good thing she continued talking. It's like nothing.
Yeah, it's fun. Learning how to fly in space takes some time to get really
does.
good
But
at
I
it.
was surprised that it didn't take you anything to get back to it, and you were like, "Oh, this is it's home for you, for sure."
Yeah, definitely. It feels like home. You have to find where all the new cable traps
Oh,
are
yes.
and everything.
Oh,
But
yes.
we had, you have to learn some of those things. But, and with that many people on board, you couldn't go as fast. Like when there was only two or three people on board, it's pretty easy because you can zip around the corners because you have very few odds that you're going to bang into somebody. And so,
true.
but
yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting, exactly.
So let's talk about looking out the window. Tell me your impressions looking out the window. Ray, how start with what was your favorite, or what did you feel about that experience?
Yeah, to me, just seeing that thin layer that protects the whole world, and how we are supposed to take care of this planet, like with all of our hearts. We have all the systems and the hardwares, and we've learned all about the contingencies and how to look after each other, like in orbit. But then it doesn't require that much when you're like inside of that planet Earth.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that just touched my heart, and it made me think about every little thing that we do to Earth to hurt it, and try to improve maybe our habits, the things that we do. Being able to see all the countries just become continents, and the continents become a whole world that we need to take care of, that's a whole new perception for me.
Yeah,
Loved that.
that's really special.
Yeah.
Ollie, how about you?
I mean, it was an amazing experience to look out the window and see the world underneath you, and you start to appreciate what you had and what you have in ground as well. It's like this fragile globe spinning in the suspense of space in the darkness, and we need to take care of it. Luckily, the first night, once we got on board, we were lucky to fly over the west coast of Saudi Arabia. And we were super excited about it, like we are little kids. Oh, that's Jeddah, that's Mecca, that's other city. And taking picture of them, it was so amazing. And the reaction of the people on Earth when they saw the pictures, it was magnificent. Like it's unreal. It felt like a dream, and I felt how the dream came true. And I would love to have for everyone, like if they could get the same feeling.
And
that
we
I
had that same feeling every time we went over the same cities. We were just super excited every time we see it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
How about you, John? What were your impressions?
Just seeing the Earth, mainly over. I enjoyed it over the oceans when the sun was low. You could actually get a sense of the shape of the globe, with the sun reflection. So you had this marvelous 3D glimmer of just a globe. And the cloud layers were there, and you could see the distance from the clouds to the shadow of the clouds on the surface.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, I know how high clouds normally are. So you could have a calibration of what it was. But just the shape was there, just as beautiful, and the arc. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Just hanging there.
They call that blue arc the limb of the Earth, and I think that's a special way to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the visibility that you have, you're recognizing that you're seeing 250 miles in a straight line, and you're looking at objects. There it was fascinating.
And I remember your advice about studying some geography before going. Yeah, I did some of that.
Yeah, I
Just
think
to be
everybody
able to know
to
where
have
we
a
are.
perception of where you are.
Where
And,
am
you know,
I?
it's I'm not great at geography, but after, 600 and
Yeah,
Yeah.
something days.
you
Yep.
know, I always appreciate that, I could tell when I'm over, northern Africa and the Saudi area because of the desert.
Yeah.
Because the reflected light that comes into the cabin reflects
Yeah.
off all that sand, and it's
Yeah.
this peachy color. And I just love that beautiful feeling of warmth.
Yeah.
Maybe not more than I do when I'm in Saudi.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember your visit.
Yeah, I think I was able, but I think I'm not sure if I told you that I was able to spot a plane flying over the Pacific.
The
Ocean.
contrail?
Yeah, I saw the
one too.
contrail,
Yeah.
and
Yes,
I
yeah.
trailed the contrail until I saw the exact
Oh,
airplane. It was amazing.
wow.
I mean, I couldn't take a picture of it, but
Yeah.
at least I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a couple of those. That was
Oh,
fun.
wow.
Yeah, sometimes you can see the wake pattern from some big boats too, as well. Sometimes you can see those if you happen to catch one at just the right time.
Yeah.
So I
How about you? Like,
What-
Yeah.
what did you enjoy the most?
Well,
Like,
your first trip back to the window, to the cupola.
to the cupola. I really didn't get to spend a lot of time in the cupola, but I had one experiment in there, and so we were troubleshooting some issues, and so I was hanging out, just kind of waiting, and I got to see a beautiful sunrise, which to me is always amazing. In space, sunrises happen pretty fast when
Yeah.
you're going
Yeah.
at 17,500 miles an
Sure.
hour toward
Toward
it.
Yeah.
So they happen pretty fast, but it's just really interesting. First, just the slim blue line,
Yeah.
that's the atmosphere, and then you get more and more color in that arc as the sun comes up around
Yep.
the planet, basically
Yeah.
coming into sight. And of course, once it gets above the horizon, then it's this brilliant
bright.
glare that you can't even look at
Exactly, yeah.
until it gets above the station, and then you can see it. I would have to say one of my favorite views, though, on this trip was Ollie and I had just gotten out of our suits on the re-entry. So after we'd undocked and before the actual re-entry part, we got out of our suits for a little while. And as Ollie pulled off his suit, he's like, "Look, the station! We can see the station!" And that was so amazing.
Exactly.
So I maybe broke a little protocol and told John and Ray to get out of their suits real quick, because
Yep.
you need to see this. You got to see this.
It was amazing.
really
We were
awesome.
Yeah,
up
yeah.
on top of it and watching it, the whole thing
The
in front of
solar
you.
arrays
Yeah, we
and how,
followed it for
my
half
God.
an hour.
Yeah.
And
on
it's
trail.
super fast. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Well, we had originally gone
Yeah.
up and behind it, and then came
Exactly.
around, and we could see up to it as we were in a lower altitude and going around it. So it was very spectacular, I thought.
Special.
Because even on the shuttle, I'd done a fly around on the shuttle, and this was, kind of comparable to that. And so
Oh.
it was really special to see
Wow.
the station, in its full beauty.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a very special moment for me. So maybe let's see what the media would like to hear about.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Okay, all right.
Thank you so much. That was such a joy to watch and listen. So thank you so much for sharing so many great stories. I know that I'm going to probably watch that video on repeat just to relive those moments with you. We have some questions from the media that we want to get to, and we're excited to hear from them as well. So we're going to start. If you're a member of the media, if you're on the line, remember you can use the chat function. You could also submit your questions on social media through the hashtag Ax-2. So one of our first questions is Marcia Dunn from AP. She has a question for especially the 3 new flyers that we have with us. Were there any moments during the flight where you thought to yourself, yikes, what did I get myself into here? This is scary stuff. Please explain. Thank you, Marcia.
Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, no. I never had one of those moments. We had so much work lined out in front of us that was the main focus. And then where to find supply. You know, it was a trip of organization, getting your feet under the on the ground. But during the entire trip, it was all about. Occasionally, I would stop and say, I'm in space. How cool is this?
Yeah.
So you just had to stop about once or twice an hour and say, why am I in such a hurry? I'm in space. Let's sit here and enjoy this moment.
Yeah.
But no, never any anxiety about all of that, no.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, I was really excited about just thinking that I'm in here. I made it. I'm in space and trying to adapt to living in the ISS and being weightless and everything is floating.
All right. I know there was one thing you guys were maybe a little afraid of. The toilet.
The toilet.
Were we?
We agreed not to talk about
Yeah.
that.
Are we going there?
Okay. No, we don't have to go there.
Yeah, we're not going to paint the picture.
We were told to fear it.
Yes.
Yeah, I can tell you to fear it.
Because there's only one in the USA segment.
But I don't think there are any mishap problems. I think we were perfect toileters.
Operators. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about
Rest
it.
assured.
Whole other experience. Yeah. But definitely needs planning ahead.
All right. Let's see if there's any more questions.
Good call, Commander. Good call. We're going to switch over to Arabia from Saudi Arabia. They're asking, what experiments or research projects was Rayyanah involved in during the mission in which the outcome shocked or surprised her? Rayyanah?
Ooh. Well, I'd say I mentioned like working with how microgravity just affects the solutions in the media and how the cells behave and how many bubbles you could get like in one tube or one well, while on Earth you could just blow and all the bubbles will disappear. Of course, you cannot do that in space. So these are one of the things that I learned. But I enjoyed every experiment that we've worked on, especially the RNA response one. It was a long experiment, and it took days, and I enjoyed the fact that each one of us had a part to contribute and to work on it, and we were like working like a chain, and it was amazing.
I liked that too. It was really nice coordination.
Absolutely.
Like the ground team would, because we got ahead of the schedule, the ground team would then have to rearrange and put different people in the schedule to make sure that we got all the data collections on that.
Exactly, and it was really special having the ISS crew there as well. They enjoyed like working with us on these special experiments. We had the chance to work with each one of them, so it was really nice. I really like enjoy working with other people.
Yeah, it was fun.
Right. We have a question from Robert Perlman. He has a few, but we're going to do one for John. Did this flight match what you imagined when you watched the early Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo astronauts fly to and from orbit?
Well, it's the space station, and what I experienced growing up were men in capsules. That were pioneering, and they hardly knew if they would survive in many cases, and many of the things that they were engaged to do had never been done before. On the station, we're there with a program script of interactions and things to do. So it's a little different, but I was prepared for the episode of launch and being in space and seeing the Earth. So that matched all my expectations, or exceeded them, I should say, in all those cases. But my enjoyment of spaceflight following that since I was 8 years old, this far exceeded that in a pleasurable way, and gave me such a great feeling about the work we did and continuing human spaceflight.
Yeah, great.
Thank you so much. We have a question from the Houston Chronicle for Rayyanah. Before the mission, you discussed your experience researching stem cells on Earth. Can you describe what it was like conducting those experiments in space for the first time? I think you've shared a little bit about that already during our conversation. Anything else that stands out?
I think with the stem cell experiment, they were adherent cells, so they behaved differently than the other experiments that we've worked on. It was amazing how like Ali would come to me and say, oh, they come out of the microscope and they look really healthy and really great, and then we would move on to like the next. So working with stem cells, I'd say on Earth and in microgravity, they're totally different. Yeah.
Thank you. Ali, how will your research into cloud seeding on orbit be put into practice in Saudi Arabia? You talked a little bit earlier about it, but any real life implications on how they'll use it in the country?
Well, we are hoping to be able to develop a new technology coming out of the research and the we did, which is we are trying to figure out what kind of materials or things or add-ons we could add it to the formula and maybe make it more effective and increase the efficiency of artificial raining. And as you know, now it's only 30% chance of the cloud seeding that to be effective. But now we are hoping to make it more than 50%.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yes.
Exactly.
If it's
Yeah.
successful.
And it's going to be beneficial for so many countries. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very impressive. A question for Peggy from Melanie from WFTV. I'd like to know if Commander is ready for her next trip to space.
Yep, I'm ready. Let's go. Especially if I can have a crew that's great as this
Oh,
one.
thank you.
Peggy.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Irene Klotz is asking a question to Ali and Rayyanah. What do you think would be a good next step for the Saudi human space program?
Well, we are really looking with this program to be able to develop or to attract the most talent we could by developing a human capital in the space sector in Saudi Arabia and being able to conduct our own research independently in space and also just increase the curiosity, the interest for new graduate in the STEM fields, which is science, technology, engineer, and math.
Yeah.
How about you, Ray? What do you think?
Well, I like the fact that they have those exhibitions back in Saudi Arabia that really resembles the life that we had on space. So I remember kids speaking about how they were able to sleep, just like Ali, using the sleeping bag and just trying to do experiments, trying to understand how the rocket launches. That really brings warmth to my heart to see that amount of inspiration that they got from this short mission. So we're probably looking forward for upcoming missions, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I will say I really enjoyed all the content that was from the Saudi Space Commission website that shows a lot of those centers in play and the dozens, thousands of students and kids and families that have gone through that. So I've really enjoyed watching those videos and the impact that you all are having in your country. We're going to go to the next question from the Orlando Sentinel. This is for John Shoffner. You've had a hand performing 2 activities tied to MIT research, but I'm particularly interested in what it was like to don the skin suit. What did it feel like getting it on and off? And from a bigger standpoint, what are your thoughts in being involved with something that could lead to humanity's expansion to become interplanetary?
Well, I love the thought of doing something, and as one of my protocols going forward in this mission was to engage in products and experiments that are to advance our role in going to space. So that was one of the things I was most adamant about, looking to children that are aspiring to space and then helping current technology. But putting that thing on was like you've seen a caterpillar come out of a chrysalis as a butterfly.
Yeah, well,
imagine that butterfly going back into that thing.
Oh my God! Yeah.
It was. It goes on pretty easily. Generally, it takes about 10 minutes, and if that's easy, it's quite snug and tight. You just wiggle into it. You do it by yourself, and you get into it. But now I know the problem with women zipping up their dress. But they give you a long string to do that. But you got to catch it in microgravity. You got to find it. So it goes on. It's quite tight, and it loads you down. But it's quite comfortable.
Yeah.
I was happy.
Once you get it on,
Once you got it on, it was good to have it on. It felt good. So.
And you did exercises with it too for them to collect data on, right?
We did. We had a lot of resistant bands exercise that we had demonstrated on. We have ground data now compared to multiple applications of the skin suit on orbit. And then I just finished here on the ground again, and I have another one tomorrow or 2 days. Some repeat performances of that to compare the baseline data. So we're trying to determine a method for the countermeasures, the effect of being in microgravity over a long term, so that both long and short, so researchers can go to orbit for the short term and come back multiple trips and not suffer this horrible readaptation that sometimes that we do. And also in long term to maybe limit the applications of exercise that are necessary to help
Yeah.
lower that. So,
Yeah.
I'm happy to be involved. It was a great trial run, and the team's doing an awesome job crunching the data. So.
Yeah,
Good.
that's
I mean,
cool.
I don't know if you allow me that I found it funny and interesting that every time he put on the skin suit, and he asked me to measure him with a measure tape and see his height, and he was surprised that he didn't get any taller, and I was like, can I measure myself? And I got an inch and a quarter taller.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's interesting, like the effects of microgravity
Yeah.
in each individual.
Yes.
Sure.
That's fantastic information. Rayyanah, we have a question for ABC about your grandmother. I know you talked a lot about her during this trip. What have you told your grandmother about your trip, and what are you hearing from girls in your homeland? And I will add something. What did she think when she saw you wearing your earrings in space?
Oh, well, definitely brought tears to her eyes. I didn't want to make her cry, but she was very happy to have like that moment to see her earrings go all the way up to space. And I think
And maybe
with-
her granddaughter, too.
yeah. I think she has more fans than I do right now. Yeah. It was a special moment just speaking to her, and she was very happy and assured to see me every day on TV. I think that was very comforting for her as well. Yeah.
Thank you. We have a question from Sophie Sanchez from Cosmos Chicago. For Peggy, were there any instances of real-time decision-making during the mission that you had to make for your team, specifically during flight or landing?
Real-time decisions. Let's see. We were changing timelines around a lot, and so we had to make decisions on who would do which tasks, and as we would, slide the program around to fit the timelines that we had to make for some of the experiments. And so I did a lot of help with that, trying to rearrange everyone's schedule and readjust as we marched along our timeline.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Peggy, I have questions from Collect Space and from ABC, and I'm going to put them together. But it was, how was your shortest space flight to date, and also your recovery from this mission compared to your long duration missions?
Yeah. So usually, I adapt quite well going up into space, but coming home after long duration missions, I don't feel so hot. Mm-hmm. Gravity sucks. But on this mission, I was hoping that being short, that I wouldn't have those negative effects on landing. And unfortunately, I did have some of those negative effects. It wasn't as bad, and I recovered much more quickly than I did after a long flight, but they were there still. So.
Yeah.
But we got through it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. Another question for Peggy. We spoke before the flight about the differences in training across the 3 spacecrafts you have flown aboard. Having now experienced the power of 9 Merlin 1D engines, how would you compare it to a Soyuz or even shuttle? And congratulations to the entire team for successful mission, and that's Jay Keegan from TLP Network, the launch pad.
No, it's very different. Each of the vehicles is very different. The shuttle, of course, had much more thrust, 3.3 million pounds of thrust, and when the solid rocket boosters ignited, there was absolutely no question you jumped into the air. The Soyuz was much slower on the ascent. It's got a very elaborate mass detection system that once the thrust equals the mass of the vehicle, then it holds it in the air until then, but then it falls back. And so there was a half a second where I'm like, are we going anywhere? In the Soyuz. The Dragon was much faster in its response at the initial launch. You felt it immediately, the thrust. And I felt like the staging was very similar in all the vehicles. In every instance where you dropped like the SRBs on the shuttle, or that you dropped the solid boosters on the Soyuz, and et cetera. It was all that staging where you kind of go into your harness as you float for a second, And what was interesting on the Dragon, I thought, was how long it took to build up back up to 1G on the Merlin engine as we in the second stage. I thought that was interesting that it took some time, you know, probably 30 seconds or more before we actually built back up to 1G.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Peggy. We have another question for you from the Houston Business Journal. How did visiting the space station feel this time, knowing that we're about less than 10 years away from its eventual retirement?
Well, I think it's, you know, obviously it's still going back home to me to go to the space station, so it was very special to be up there again and be a part of that mission. And, you know, I enjoyed being a part of it before. What's exciting to me about this phase is that, you know, space is changing. It's, you know, becoming more commercialized, and I'm really excited to be a part of that and to share that with my crew.
Yeah. Thank you, Peggy.
And following up on that, this one's for John, Ali, and Rayyanah. Having now experienced a week aboard the International Space Station, what advice would you give Axiom Space about must-haves for the future Axiom station?
Okay.
An easy-to-operate toilet.
You know, a gym, you know, some form of exercise area, you know, like the station has. That's important. We did not use the station equipment on this journey, but I would have enjoyed a chance to, you know, keep things, you know, working. So, of course, that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ray, anything to?
Well, I think since I have that crew quarter, I was very comfortable. So
Yeah.
I don't think I have any more suggestions.
Yeah, I think you know, I think it's important to have a system of payloads where you can interface and put the cables behind the walls, and that's, I think, something that we're trying to design into Axiom Station to make it still easy to use, to do, to set up new experiments, because you're going to change out experiments all the time. And so you need an easy platform to do that, and we have like a pull-out thing where you can mount your experiments and payloads and do the cabling and then slide it back in, and I think that'll be a huge asset to the station.
Efficient.
Thank you so much. We have Sophie Sanchez of Cosmic Chicago. This one's for Rayyanah. During the return, Peggy called out the drogue chute deployment, and we saw you grab for the handle on your seat. Can you tell us more about what was going through on your head and what you felt at that moment?
Well, during the Sims, we really did not live that kind of
Sensation.
Yeah, the sensation of how the drogues will work. So when you said that, I was like, what should I do now? Should I brace? What should I do? It was running through my head, and then to me, that was actually the star of the moment of landing. It was really amazing. I remember I screamed after we almost, the drogues almost like opened, and how we felt the rocking and the turning. I don't know, it was amazing to me.
Yeah, it's interesting that it doesn't take that long being in space to where, you know, you don't realize how heavy you are. As we were coming in during the re-entry, I said, okay, guys, we're up to 1G. And Ray's like, it feels like 5.
It was surprisingly
And it was
heavy.
hard even to lift your head.
And it's because your body very quickly forgets how much mass is associated with you, and then, you know, coming in and trying to lift your arm during the G's as you're coming in home, it's really dramatic, I think, that sensation of G's after you've been in 0 G's. Because, you know, on the launch, 4.5 G's didn't feel as bad.
Yeah.
You're relatively adaptive.
Exactly.
You know, you started out at 1, and then when you go from 0, it seems to change your perspective a lot more about, and also when the chutes deploy, the lateral, you know, the other accelerations that you get, the spinning, the rocking, all of that is new to your inner ear and your sensations. And so I think it feels very dramatic, and it's probably not really. If we had done it on launch day, which we wouldn't want to do, but if we had done it on launch day, I don't think it would have felt as dramatic.
Yeah.
So we're going to do one last question. This is for John from ABC. Peggy told us that she was assigning her crew to spending one entire orbit in the cupola. We saw your photos, and what was that experience like? And I'd also like to add, was there any other homework that Commander Whitson gave this crew?
Well, that was a mandate, of course, to spend time in the cupola, and it was probably the most wise issue or suggestion that we had, and it was marvelous. It gave you a chance to calm down and forget what you had been working on instead of flying in and flying out. And you saw so many wonderful things. You saw a sunset, a sunrise during that time. You saw so many. I didn't care where I was at that moment. I didn't worry about the geography, just the flight. And you just watched this marvelous thing slide under you. In any direction you looked, you saw something different. So you got thousands of views, and it was just a calming moment. I called it the cool pool of space. You drop into the cupola, and it was, the sound changed because all the fans and ventilation were above you, and you just dropped into this. It wasn't silent, but you just dropped into a different element, and the earth came up around you, and you just wanted to stay there. And I almost did. So it was marvelous. So other suggestions that she gave us, enjoy the ride. So that was it was a marvelous journey.
Remember
Thank you.
you're in space. Just enjoy space.
Just enjoy space.
Well, that is a wonderful way to close for us to enjoy space and enjoy the moment. It's been an honor to work with Peggy, John, Ali, and Rayyanah over these months, and watching this mission has been an honor and a joy to watch them talk about it. And before we close, I'm going to ask everyone, if you haven't had the opportunity, axiomspace.com. There's lots of video and pictures of the mission that this crew took, and we'll have much more content sharing on our social medias and on their Twitter and other social media platforms for the individual crew members. If you want to schedule an interview or have follow-up questions, please send us an email at media@axiomspace.com. That concludes our AX2 Return to Earth press conference, but I want you to stay with us as we show you some highlights of the AX2 mission and our favorite moments. Thank you, shukran, and go AX2.
Dragon, copy. Go for launch. Today, we stand on the threshold of a remarkable journey thanks to your unwavering spirit to explore beyond our home planet. And with that, let's get to work and build some history together.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engines full power. And liftoff. Go Axiom.
Together we expand what is possible in low Earth orbit. Ad Astra and Godspeed AX2.
Hey gang, this is Dragon Freedom up here with a new crew on orbit. And I'm really excited about returning to space, but even more excited about welcoming 3 new astronauts.
I wish we had more words than just amazing, fantastic, awesome, all those things, because they fall short.
تم إجراء وإنجاز جميع التجارب العلمية والأبحاث المنوطة في هذه الرحلة بنجاح ولله الحمد، وإن شاء الله نسأل الله أن تعود علينا بالنفع في المستقبل.
On behalf of the Expedition 69 crew, it's been an honor to share the ISS with the Axiom 2 crew. We're going to miss them. We wish them Godspeed tomorrow. Thank you guys for a fun week.
Peggy, copy. And thank you for the hospitality.
AX2 is back on Earth.
every story comes to an end, and this is only the beginning of a new era